Okay, half angle formulas. This is going to conclude our formulas for this chapter. The half angle formula for sine of u over 2, the half angle formula for sine of u over 2 is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of u over 2. Now, you can also rewrite this if that's a little confusing to you. The difference between the double angle and the half angle is your angles are flip-flopped. So now half the angle is on the outside. So half the angle is on the left, and the whole angle, I guess you can think of it, if we've got half an angle, then we've got a whole angle, that would be on the inside of the radical. Another way you can think of this, if that fraction is causing your brain to consider shutting down, you can just make it sine of u equals plus or minus, and then on the inside we've got 1 minus the cosine of 2u all over 2. So you can think of it either way. I've seen textbooks, more textbooks choose the way on the left. I have seen a couple with the way on the right. It's completely up to you. The difference with these formulas are, do you see that plus or minus? Yeah, that plus or minus, you have to determine the sign. So you have to be very cognizant, very aware of what quadrant you're in. So you determine the sign. Okay, so sine is positive in quadrants 1 and 2. If your half angle is in quadrants, let me write this. If u over 2 is in quadrant 1 or 2, then positive, right? If u over 2 is in quadrant 3 or 4, if in 3 or 4, then negative. You know what I'll probably do? I'll probably go back over this. I want to try and I'll go over that in another video. So if you got that, that's good. If you paused my video and you wrote it down, that's good. I'm going to do it in a separate video. This way I can write it all out nice and clean. Okay? But you have to determine the sign. I'll do a few examples. It's not that difficult. Just something you have to be aware of. Okay, cosine of u over 2, cosine of u over 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of, very similar to sine, but we have a plus on the inside, plus the cosine of u. So sine has the subtraction in the numerator, and cosine of u over 2 has the addition. Now we could also rewrite this, or the cosine of u, see if you can rewrite this on your own. Cosine of u is equal to plus or minus, try and be a step ahead of me, 1 plus the cosine of 2u. So sorry about that, but I'm not starting this video all over, so you're going to get a glimpse of Mrs. Rhodes calling me. I'm going to use some Easter colors here. Makes me feel like we got Easter coming around the corner. The tangent of u over 2 is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of u over 1 plus the cosine of u. Now, can you figure out why subtraction is in the numerator? Why is subtraction in the numerator and addition in the denominator? Because tangent is sine over cosine. Sine over cosine. Sine has the negative. Cosine has the positive. Sine over cosine. Pretty cool, huh? So it's a way to remember it. Which is also equal to, if you're making flashcards, there's going to be 3 different expressions, and you're going to use the expression that works best for you. In any given situation. You don't get to just say, oh, I like this one, I'm going to use this one all the time. Sometimes there's a need to use the square root. Sometimes there's a need to use this one, the sine of u, over 1 plus the cosine of u, which is also equal to 1 minus the cosine of u over the sine of u. So those three you need to make sure you know. Now, the one in the middle is a binomial denominator. The last fraction is a monomial denominator. So sometimes we need that monomial denominator. Sometimes we need the monomial numerator. Sometimes we need the monomial in the numerator. Okay, in the next video, I'm going to actually work through finding the sine of 165 degrees, the cosine of 165 degrees, and the tangent of 165 degrees using these half angle formulas.